Welcome, everybody, to Connect, Inspire, Create, a podcast exploring meaningful conversations about life, work, creativity, and the ways that we can grow. As I step into this new season 7, my show is actually taking a fresh direction. Connect, Inspire, Create is now focusing on slowing down the conversation just enough to notice what inspires us and how these insights can help shape what we create in our lives. So I am Carol Clegg, your host. I call myself your gentle accountability coach. And I'm inviting my guests now from a wide range of backgrounds to just share insights on how they live, work, think, and navigate the wonderful challenges of just being a human in our world. So joining me today is my guest, Ashley Jablow. And Ashley, I never asked you, I wanted to how to pronounce your surname. I say surname, last name correctly, so I hope I didn't butcher it.
It's very close. It's very close. I'm Ashley Jablow. And Carol, it's so great to be here with you today. And I just need to kind of name when you said we're here to slow down the conversation, I felt myself take a really deep exhale. So I really appreciate you naming that. It just felt good to kind of ground and be here with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's important, that we do take that time and just not rush into these conversations because they're so precious and important. And I'm thrilled that you're here today to join me. So I wanted to just give a brief introduction. So Ashley is the founder of Wayfinders Collective and the creator of Life Design School. And she helps people reimagine what's possible, both in work, leadership, and life. And I like to share that your work lives, as you said, at the intersection of innovation, creativity, and practical change. And Ashley is combined her formal training as a coach and now guides people to apply the methods and mindsets of innovation to their own career and life design. So, Ashley, that's kind of the official introduction, but I would love to just start with something a little more personal. When people first meet you, what is one thing that they're often surprised to learn about you?
Oh, that's a good one. I was actually imagining the question you were going to ask me is, what's one thing people always learn about you? And my answer to that is that I'm a mom. Being a mom is a very big part of my identity, my daily life, my routine. But one thing that people are surprised, I think it's my own journey with becoming an artist,
Mm.
especially people who have known me for a long time. I've sort of uncovered a side of myself in my 40s that I didn't expect, and that is I am someone who loves to create art. I've always been creative, but I grew up with a very talented artist mother. And
Ooh,
I think that I have so much appreciation and gratitude for my mom. And I think also in our family, she sort of held that role. And so as I'm growing into myself at this stage of my life, I have really started to express myself creatively through tangible art. And that's not something, again, especially people who've known me for a long time would say, Ashley, doing art? That's unexpected.
wonderful. That just brings such a warm feeling to me because I think it's such a gift to find an outlet
Mm,
where you can just explore and then embrace and get joy out of that.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
that is
And
wonderful.
practice the discomfort of learning something and the discomfort of having an idea in your mind or your heart and then figuring out how to translate that into something that you feel represents your vision. I mean, it's kind of a microcosm for personal growth in many ways.
Yeah, no, I love, what you say because I think often we stilt ourselves or hold ourselves back because I love creating, but I always tell them, you're not good enough, you can't
Mm.
do this. So what you just said there about learning, we often think we just have to be gifted artists to be able to play in the art realm. And why not learn like we do in so many other areas of our lives? So that's where I'm going to bridge over to let's talk about life design during the seasons of transition. especially when the old map no longer fits. And I know that transitions can arrive by choice, and sometimes they arrive without asking our permission. And I did notice on your website that you mentioned in 2017, you shared that you were laid off from what you thought was your dream job, and that opened up a whole new pathway for you. Can you share just a little bit about that revelation?
Oh, absolutely. It's so true that sometimes we pick our heads up and look around and realize there needs to be a transition, there needs to be change. And then other times it's foisted upon us, right? With or without our consent, really. And so, yes, my experience getting laid off in 2017, I really thought I had arrived when I took on that job. I had worked in um, really prestigious organizations. I kind of climbed the professional mountain that I thought I was meant to climb. And very unexpectedly was told, no, actually, you have not been successful here, and we need to let you go. And it's funny, Carol, I see you rolling your eyes, and I feel that way now for sure. At the time, it was such a gut punch. And in fact, I've learned to think about getting laid off a bit like getting dumped in a romantic relationship. And actually, if you map kind of a romantic relationship along with professional ones, there's often that honeymoon phase. There's that, like, oh, he leaves his dishes in the sink, but I still love him. And then there's sometimes that, like, something has changed and I'm not sure what it is. And I had those feelings before I got laid off, but I really was blindsided. I didn't expect to get dumped. And so I went through a period of grieving. I went through a period of real questioning, not just what do I do now, but importantly, how do I explain what's just happened to me? It was a real bruise, not just to my ego, but my sense of self. I've always been very ambitious. I've been a high achiever. And so to be kind of knocked off that pedestal that I had put myself on was really bruising in so many ways. And at the same time, I knew that I really, like deep down, there was this kernel of truth. I knew I had been given a gift because when I really stopped to consider it, I could see that the path I was heading down was not truly an authentic or even like integrated path. I often felt that my work life and my real life were two separate things. And I did, even in that moment, know that I was craving bringing them more closely together. And so, boy, I mean, seasons of transition, they take as long as they're going to take. I made some quick progress, and also in many ways, I feel like I am still in the midst of that transition. But it has been a hugely instrumental experience for me that has informed my understanding of what it's like to navigate change, particularly as an established professional, as an established person, and how to do it with integrity and intention and creativity.
And I just, as I shared with you earlier, but now for myself as someone who is newly navigating widowhood, even that word is something I haven't even said a whole lot of times. So I'm
Mm,
still learning to talk about that. But just as we said, some transitions are chosen and some are not. And so if we come back to, what is life design really? How does life design apply when these changes feel imposed on us?
yeah, yeah. Well, first, I just want to acknowledge again how honored I am to get to be here with you today as you navigate this transition yourself. And the way I think about life design is that it really is a curious and intentional and creative approach to understanding who you are at this stage in your life really defining what matters to you, imagining a resonant and authentic future for yourself, and then taking iterative, consistent, kind of incremental steps every day to get yourself to that future, to realize that future. And I think it's particularly important to go through the process, the experience of life design when you have found yourself in a place where life is telling you you have to change, even
Mm-hmm.
if you don't want to,
Right, right.
because
Yeah.
I really believe that this is, I mean, we could get really deep here, Carol. I really believe that this is the one shot we've got in this lifetime, right? And so whether it's imposed or it's by choice, recognizing that we are always gifted opportunities to recalibrate. We are always gifted opportunities to learn more and to deepen our sense of purpose and meaning in this one life that we have. And so I believe life design as I've designed it, as I've defined it, is a way of supporting people and guiding people to do that. Whether you've chosen to transition or if the universe has decided it's time.
And yeah, I love what you share because having somebody to walk alongside you to pull out courage. Courage suddenly was the word that came to me a little yesterday, and I was like, what does courage look like? And you don't sit with this, I'm feeling courageous and I can take on anything, but just bringing it back gently as a reminder that look for courage in certain situations. And as you said, sort of small incremental, one little step and you're going to fall way back again. But then, picking yourself up. So that brings me to a question about, redesigning. Why does redesigning your life in community matter?
Mm. Oh gosh. Well, I mean, just purely knowing that you are not alone is so important. Like I'll share from my own story. When I got laid off, I did a lot of walking. Did a lot of walking just to pound the pavement and figure out, like, how do I make sense of this? And I would put in podcasts actually, and I would carry a little notebook in my back pocket. And I mean, I would stop wherever I was listening to something and make notes and write it down. And I felt very alone. I felt really isolated in this experience of this thing has just happened to me. I'm devastated. I'm embarrassed. I'm confused. I'm not feeling brave at all. Where do I even go from here? And so, as much as the walking and the quiet solitude and reflection was important, I also spent a lot of time when I got laid off talking to other people, and asking them, like, how did you navigate these moments? I love learning about people's stories. I love looking for connections and lessons, right? So I would have coffee with people and I would say, how have you navigated getting laid off or a tough transition? And the thing that I learned was that actually they would say to me, well, how are you doing it? Because I'm struggling here and I actually have this thing that I'm working through and I don't know how to do it. And what I started to realize, and what really became kind of the genesis of Wayfinders Collective, my business, was this notion of navigating, whether it's navigating the open ocean like a traditional wayfinder or navigating the pathways of our lives. It is perhaps one of the most universal human experiences, and yet we so often do it in isolation. We don't look around, again, to extend that metaphor of navigating the ocean in our boat, right? We don't look around and realize that everyone is in a boat next to us. The
Yeah,
whole
I
ocean
love
is filled with
Phil.
people,
Yeah.
right? And so that was really my intention with starting Wayfinders Collective. And it's taken me a number of years to realize that community piece. Because as much as people are craving doing this work and learning about themselves and feeling less alone in community, it's also a very private experience, right? And so, how do you balance, even dance with, we are all in this together, and also this is a really sacred personal journey. So I would say you have to dance with that, but knowing that you are not actually alone. If you're being faced with questions and doubts and uncertainty, whether it's about work, it's about something in your family life, it's about your purpose, right? It could be about, who am I becoming? Just know that as much as that feels really private and individualized to you, everyone is walking around asking these questions. And when you can turn towards someone you trust and say, can we talk about this together? You'll find the whole experience is so enriching and resonant and connecting. So
I love
yeah.
that just absolutely resonates with me because it's so easy to put up the wall and go, this
Mm,
is such a private experience, and then I don't want to burden somebody with my over emotional state. But what you spoke about is approaching them and asking them for advice on how they walk their road, walk their journey, experience it. I think that opens up for instead of dumping. You come straight forward and go, this is me, and then sort of expecting, so those were very helpful words for me to hear today, is in
mm,
approaching others, to support you on your journey. Because, being laid off and becoming a widow, we're not the only ones. As you said,
absolutely.
there's many other people that, walk this road. And we do need community, but in the right space, the right time to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and to trust somebody to walk that journey with you. So I wonder if there was anything that you could share just on saying, we talk about courage, the word courage, and it's we kind of know what it is, but what can that really look like in real life?
Mm, I love that. So I'm smiling because when I think about courage, I think about risk. Like, they go together, right? If we need courage, it's because we are preparing to approach something that feels risky, feels hard, feels unknown, feels uncertain. And I have come, and again, I said I was a high achiever. What I mean more directly is that for most of my life, I have been a raging perfectionist, which is probably why I'm just only now coming into myself as an artist, right? Because the idea of perfection and art, they sort of don't go together. And so I have had a lifetime of avoiding risk because you can't expect to get things perfect when you're approaching something that's unknown. You've never done it before, right? And so a lot of my work with my clients and just personally myself is about reframing risk and really examining what it is and what it isn't. So when I think about risk, generally, if I asked you, like, what does risk look like? What does it feel like? Like, we kind of immediately in our heads go to, I'm jumping out of an airplane without a parachute, right? Or I've taken my life savings and I'm going to the casinos, right? Really big, scary, dangerous risk. That's not the kind of risk that I think any of us really want to be taking, need to be taking, right? Those are not safe risks. But I think when we're talking about courageously facing transition, we need to be talking about safe, productive, even helpful risks that we can start practicing having courage around, right? So, a great example is, or just one example that comes to mind, is let's say that you are thinking of starting a new retail store, like downtown somewhere. And there are all these products you love, and you just couldn't, you get so excited thinking about, I want to be a shop owner. right? And actually, my mom has had a retail store for 40 plus years. So this is an example I know well. So let's imagine you say, okay, I want to open up this retail store. I know all the products I'm interested in. I'm going to go down. There's a space that's open for rent, and I'm going to sign a 10-year lease, and I'm going to open my doors in 6 weeks, right? Ah, I saw your face, right, Carol? It's like, oh my God, I can even feel like in my stomach that doesn't feel safe, right? So the question becomes, what are some small, fast, inexpensive risks that you can take that can help you learn about whether this is a good idea, right? One potential idea might be, well, there are a few products I like. I'm going to sign up to sell at a pop-up market, right? Now, that might be the right size risk, and you might have the level of courage ready to match that. But I would offer that that's not even the smallest, fastest, least expensive thing you could try, right? Maybe the smallest thing you could do is say, there's one product I really like, and I'm going to invite 10 friends over to my house for a glass of wine. I'm going to show them what I've got, and I'm going to ask them for their feedback, right? That's the kind of risk that is absolutely something new. It's something unknown. We don't know if people are going to like this, right? But it's like the level of courage required for that is much more manageable. And on top of that, you're going to learn, right? And I just really believe that when you can frame any risk in service of your learning, it starts to feel easier to be courageous about it, because once you've tried it and you've learned, like, oh, they loved this product, and
Mhm.
actually they'd be willing to pay more than I thought they would, right? Now, what's the next thing I could do? The smallest, fastest, least expensive investment I could make, right? To help me learn more. And ultimately, you ladder your way up
Mhm.
perhaps to that
Mhm.
retail space. You may not, though, but either way, you have gotten smarter and you've practiced taking action. You've practiced building those courage muscles, and suddenly risks feel purposeful. They don't feel dangerous.
Beautiful, beautiful picture, explanation, how to take these small action steps without overwhelming yourself, and then bringing the community in, be that,
Yeah.
in whether it be even, when you spoke about that and bringing people in, I sort of thought of the benefits of even a mastermind where you can explore the waters with people that you might know and get some feedback before, as you say, jumping into a 10-year lease. I mean, it breaks my heart when I see small businesses in our area and they jump in and and I'm like, oh, couldn't have you taken a smaller step before jumping, into that huge big step. So, Ashley, I know that you have a Clarity Kit workshop that you talk about. And I'd love you to just tell me a little bit more, and I'll make sure to put that link in. But that's for my listeners to explore. So tell us more about it.
Absolutely. Yes. So I think you mentioned, Carol, I've worked in innovation for many years. And so a lot of the coaching and teaching I do is about taking the methods and mindsets of innovation that companies, brands, even governments use to apply them to our own career and life decisions, our career and life crossroads. And one of the things that I learned working in innovation, sitting inside federal agencies, for example, and helping them design and deliver new innovative services for citizens, is that often we jump right into solution mode without clarifying what problem we're actually trying to solve. And you see this a lot, actually. I see this a lot in coaching conversations where people say, I hate my job, and so I need to go get a new one. Now, the thing is, it's going to sound kind of cliche and maybe even obvious, but it's worth stating. If you don't have the right problem, if you don't know the correct problem, you're not going to get to the right solution. And that's true in a job search, that's true in government agencies, that's true in any aspect of our lives. And so, actually pausing to consider what is the problem I'm trying to solve is hugely important because almost like you imagine a big cruise ship, right? Where like you set out in a direction, and if it's not the correct direction, even by like 1 degree, you're going to end up in the wrong place. So, pausing to get clarity, which is the purpose of this workshop, so that you can really say, this is the problem I want to solve. So, in the case of a job, for example, maybe it's you learn that it's not that I hate my job and that that's the problem. Maybe the problem is actually that you're not growing, right? That ultimately, with doing the work of life design, that might lead you to say, well, the solution actually is still to get a new job. But it might not. It might look like any other number of solutions to solve for I'm not growing,
Right.
right?
That you could,
So,
you can look for other opportunities or have conversations right where you are, as opposed to
yeah,
uplifting yourself and having to move and change, that there could be
absolutely.
solutions right under your nose.
Absolutely. So that's
Yeah.
the intention of the workshop. It's totally free. It's a 30-minute video with me where I walk you through some life design exercises. Again, with the goal of by the time you're done, you can really say, this is the problem I want to solve, and feel really confident that that's the direction you want to head in.
Lovely. And I've got that at lifedesignschool.co/kit, and I'll make sure that that is in the show notes. Ashley, as we close out our wonderful conversation, and thank you, if somebody listening wanted one just very gentle, meaningful step to take this week, what would you invite them to focus on?
I love the idea of gentle. I'm a very sensitive person, so gentle is like a word that speaks to my heart. I think, oh, there's so many lovely things I would say, but I think if I could offer just one thing to do this week and in a gentle way, it would be to get some fresh air.
Mhm.
I have found that there is almost nothing more restorative than just some fresh air. And this is the part that's maybe not going to feel gentle for folks, myself included, without your phone.
Yes, yes. No,
And
it's
even if I can just add, Carol, even if it's 60 seconds, right? Just stand outside, even open up your window and just breathe in the fresh air for 60 seconds. It's going to feel uncomfortable, I promise. And done cumulatively, like 60 seconds a day, by the end of 7 days, I would be curious if you notice something has shifted. If you notice you can go for 2 minutes, if you notice that a new idea pops into your head, if you notice that actually the absence of ideas or thoughts is there, that's also beautiful. But just the fresh air, it's funny, it gives me goosebumps. Just breathing is so powerful and so underutilized
I know,
in
as you
in my
said
life
that,
and everyone's. Yeah.
I could 100% agree with you. When you're feeling so overwhelmed, the difference that it makes if you just step outside and just, as you say, and it's funny because it's a South African tradition. You can't see me here, but it's cold and it's wintry, and I'm dressed warmly, but I'm barefoot. And in South Africa, it's just a thing. I think so many people walk around barefoot, but it just also brings me back to feeling your feet on the ground. So even when you get out of bed in the morning and your feet first touch the ground, is feeling that sensation. But this going outside, I do that with, I'm all warm and then I can be barefoot just to feel that
I
sensation.
love
So
that.
just something crazy. But Ashley, the best place to find you, I have your website, lifedesignschool.co, and then is LinkedIn the best place if people wanted to connect with you?
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn and very active over there. I that's sort of where I share more about coaching and leadership. I'm also very active on Instagram, and that's where I share
One.
my art more than anything.
Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you're curious about, come connect with me there. I would love to be in community with your listeners.
Lovely. And I will make sure to have all those links that people can find you then. Ashley, thank you so, so much for this. This was a beautiful, gentle start to my day. So
Oh, thank you,
thanks to
Carol.
those who are listening to Connect, Inspire, Create. And if our conversation sparked something for you, which I can almost feel certain that it did, I invite you to share it with a friend who you think might enjoy listening to this episode. And if you're a coach or a business owner craving some focus, connection, or just a little bit, again, my word, gentle accountability, there are a couple of ways that you can work with me. You can join my Mindset to Momentum Accountability Circle. It's complimentary. We meet once a month and just get together to help each other move through challenges and take the next step. So if you want to find out more about that, you'll see it on my website, carolclegg.com. You'll also find me on LinkedIn. And until the next show, may your choices bring you ease and flow. Thank you. Bye bye.